We're going to take a closer look at the AFC East team draft needs over the balance of the program. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. They can't leave the 2024 draft without addressing what? Now, we know receiver is a given.
Receiver's
Other than
obvious.
receiver,
Right.
what position must they address?
I think it's D-line is where I look at, right? I think they got their O-line in a pretty good spot, right? We know receivers obvious. There's two spots that are obvious to me, and that would be probably D-line and then something secondary, right? Tre'Davious White's not there. They drafted Kaiir Elam in the first round a few years ago. That hasn't worked out, right? The safety position, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer aren't there. So to me, it's D-line or something there in that back end. Probably safety more than corner. But I think, like what Brandon Bean just said, it starts up front. And that's where you go, wait, okay, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, right? That's pretty good, right? But Von Miller up there in age, Daquan Jones, some of the other guys they have, right? They're no spring chickens anymore, to where I think they got to start thinking future difference maker that way too. So I guess D-line would be the next position other than receiver for me, Mike.
Yeah, for me, it's that secondary. Tre'Davious White was released. You mentioned Hyde and Poyer are gone. You look at the guys they have. They signed Mike Edwards away from the Chiefs. Rasul Douglas was the guy they traded for last year. They need some young talent they can start pushing through the pipeline and getting ready to become starters sooner rather than later. So I think I would focus on that. And, I said yesterday with the Ravens, you need to be thinking about developmental quarterback. I think they should be thinking about that as well in Buffalo. They brought back Mitchell Trubisky to be the backup to Josh Allen. I think they'd be wise to have someone that they just bring in low round that they can groom to be the low-cost backup for several years to Josh Allen in the event he gets banged up, somebody they can trust to come in. All right, let's move on to the Dolphins. Miami cannot leave the 2024 draft without addressing what, Chris?
Well, I think the biggest thing is offensive line. That would be the number one thing. I mean, again, it's not a big quarterback. We know that. It's Mike McDaniel. He's Shanahan. They want to run the ball. He's not going to abandon that, right? You need to protect Tua, who's your investment. And, one, it's center who was really good, Connor Williams. He's not there right now, right? Hurt his knee. Okay. They lost their best offensive lineman and their guard, Robert Hunt, in free agency, right? And then you got Teron Armstead at left tackle, who is, by all due accounts, kind of on his last leg. And I didn't mean that literally, but he's had leg issues and he's been injured a lot. So I got to think they're looking at that more than anything there in Miami.
It's funny, the phrase last leg, like there's only two. It's not like there's 100 legs and I'm down to my last leg. I got two. If I lose one, I'm down to my last leg. You really don't have a lot of margin for error to end up on your last leg. I don't. It's already been a stressful enough morning. We were fighting earlier, even though we're past that now. That was an hour and a half ago. I look at the quarterback position and I just wonder where they're going. And they like Skylar Thompson, but he's stuck behind Mike White. Mike White is good, not great. What are they going to do with Tua? There's no long-term deal with Tua yet. He wants one. Do you try to find somebody? Do you throw a dart on somebody that you could maybe develop and get lucky and find yourself a Brock Purdy if Tua just doesn't work out? If this is the final up or out year for Tua Tagovailoa, Chris, if it doesn't work, where do you go next year? Where do you pivot? Do you just get a free agent, or do you have somebody you've been developing other than Skylar Thompson? So I'd at least be thinking about a low-round quarterback that can maybe run the system and maybe be the savior if I need to pivot to one at some point, maybe even during this year like Purdy was his rookie year. All right, Patriots draft needs. They cannot exit the 2024 draft without addressing what position?
Well, I mean, we know they need a quarterback, right? Right. So let's not do that one and talk about that. That's obvious. I think the other one that I would look at to go, it's fairly obvious, is offensive tackle. They got nothing for the future there right now at that position. Trent Brown's gone. Their guards are good. They're kind of good on the interior. They signed Okafor right from the Steelers in free agency, but there's nobody you look at to go, hey, they're kind of good there for a while. The Patriots usually believe in that. That would probably be the biggest position I look at, Mike. That and a difference-making wide receiver, but we know they got a lot of holes there in New England.
The receiving depth chart, when you look at the names, and I love KJ Osborne, he walks through the door as a starter. Him and Kendrick Bourne are the two starters.
Like the go-to guys
to pump up that room.
Right.
They need somebody who's going to be a difference maker at that position. They have a lot of needs because the cupboard is largely bare based upon the disintegration of the team over the past couple of years. When they put out the win totals last week, like the Patriots are low on that list of projected over-under win total. The New York Jets, they don't have a second rounder. You know, there was a suggestion from Rich Cimini of ESPN.com over the weekend. They'd maybe like to trade down from 10 to pick up a second rounder.
Yeah.
That's the Aaron Rodgers second rounder. With those selections, Chris, who must they have? What position must they address in this month's draft?
I think they're a big trade down candidate. Well, I mean, Mike, I mean, I'm sure you got the roster in front of you right now. The Jets roster is damn good. Like, there's nothing you can look at and go, well, you know, they are in desperate need here, right? I think you can look at, like, okay, their tight end, like the Brock Bowers guy at 10, that's certainly something. I do think they got to think about a tackle for the future, though. They got Tyrone Smith and Morgan Moses, right? If they want Aaron Rodgers to stay alive and be able to throw the ball for more than just 1 year, and I think for the betterment of the big picture of their team, I would say tackle is probably that position.
I want young depth behind the older veterans they brought in with injury issues. So I need somebody who's behind Mike Williams, somebody who's behind Tyron Smith, CJ Uzomah's gone.
Sure.
They need a tight end.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.